Welcome to our talk on Hamlet, the play by Shakespeare. Shakespeare has written almost 37 plays and 154 sonnets. The age of Shakespeare is really the new morning for English literature. And Shakespearean age, when we compare the age of Shakespeare, how he acted as the actor with all his fellow actors, what they produced is today the landmark in the literature. So if we compare different plays of Shakespeare, we compare different thoughts, we compare different stages, we compare a different plot in all different plays. We don't say only the Shakespearean play, one play is being copied and another play is being extracted from the same play. No, there are different thoughts when we see the Midsummer Night's Dream, where the stage is being constructed, the plot is being constructed away from the kingdom. That's in the midst of the forest, and here it's within the kingdom, as in case of the Hamlet. So it's believed that Hamlet, in 1590, the work was started, the compilation of the play was started in 1601. The work was completed. And if we see that the first, if I remind better that the first play when it was first performed there, first staged, it was 1603. And also when we see that, why don't we have the exact version of the Hamlet, the famous, which is the biggest of all Shakespearean plays. We see some versions are there. We believe there are 3 versions were there, which are still, you can see, is the first quarto and the second quarto, or Q1, Q2, and later it was the first folio. And if we compare all the versions of the Shakespearean play of this Hamlet, we see some of the lines and some of the scenes are missing in each play. And we see there when we compare one by one. And the reason why don't we have the exact version of any book of the play Hamlet, which was written by Shakespeare. We see in the whole age of Shakespeare, there was no version which was published in his lifetime, during his lifetime. That's the first reason why don't we have exactly the saved or the survived version of any Hamlet's play. And later, if we say the death which exactly occurred, as per the dates, there can be differences as per the dates are concerned, and the exact, what we believe now is the April 23, 1616. Till then, there was no version, or we can say some printed version, so there might not be confusion among the listeners. One is printed version of the book. Some printing versions were there, which were only the main dialogues were being written on the printed versions, which the characters they have to go, they have to rehearse these dialogues, and then they have to produce these dialogues, but not the exact publication. Same was the case with the play Hamlet. In 1603 we had the printed version, but that was for the characters, for those all, for the written record, for the characters whom we call again and again as in the plays, who were to rehearse those days. In Shakespeare was one among the characters, one among the actors when it was being staged with the fellow actors. And after the 7 years of the death of Shakespeare, exactly until 23, we had no version, 1623, we had no version of any Shakespearean plays which could have been published those days, but the fellow actors like John Hemmings and Henry Condell, after the age of I think 7 years of the cave of the death of Shakespeare, and they published the first folio in which almost 36 plays were being published, and this was the collection of the publication of almost 36 plays. As per the play is concerned, we don't say only the play is started with the Prince Hamlet, or there was something in notion. No, it was exactly the quilting of the great playwright, the great poet Shakespeare, who used his thought, who used his philosophy, and who wove his all. There was a great woven the context of this play, which we could say that is yet as the master plays and most, and we say the filmized 1948. It saw the version was filmized at that time, and till now it's only the play which is being filmized after Cinderella the most of the times, and we don't have any plays being filmized as many times as Hamlet. Now we'll go with the summary. Not exactly the summary. In the next part we'll see the exact summary of the play, but we'll see the characters which are in this play. And in the next part we'll see the whole summary, and in the next part after that we'll go for the critical appreciation of the play, and we'll see how different authors in different ages they have analyzed, and how the analysis had gone for the Hamlet during different ages. So Yorick, I will use the first character, the name of the first character, that is Yorick, and who would have been the court jester, and his presence in the play, the presence of the sickle of the Yorick, is very important for Hamlet's, where he reminiscence about the death and about his childhood later in the play. So he was the court jester, not of the Prince Hamlet, neither of the Claudius, but he was the court jester of the King Hamlet. The next character with that the play starts is the Hamlet itself, the King Hamlet. But he's not exactly the character there in the play, but the play starts like this. And next is the Prince Hamlet, who is there in the play, the Prince of the Denmark. And exactly what we see here in this play, how Shakespeare uses the character of the Hamlet, is not a character who is yet to grow, yet to gloom, yet to get blossomed there as per the age is concerned, but he's a fully matured person of the age of 30 years. So when the play starts, the age, what we see of the Hamlet is 30 years of the age. And we see here in this play, the Hamlet is the man protagonist. And also the next character is of the Gertrude. Gertrude is exactly the queen. A queen happened before and after the death of King Hamlet. When it was King Hamlet, she was the wife of the King Hamlet, and later she became the wife of the brother of the King Hamlet. King Hamlet, who is next character there in this play, and his name is Claudius. He is now the present king of the Denmark. Later we'll see in the next part, we'll go with the summary, how we can analyze the character of this Claudius, very important character there in the play. He is exactly the king of the Denmark and the uncle of the Prince Hamlet. And when we say the Prince Hamlet as the man protagonist, not the King Hamlet, but the Prince Hamlet as the man protagonist, there is exactly the antagonist of the protagonist is itself the Claudius, the uncle of the Prince Hamlet. So the next character, this is when it starts, the play starts, I had to start with that is Fortinbras. And Fortinbras is the young king of the Norway. He happened to be the prince first, and later he became the king of the Norway, is the prince whose father, how the play starts, how the play gives the information regarding the current affairs of the Denmark, was that the King Hamlet, the father of the Prince Hamlet, when the play started, before play, the King Hamlet had attacked the Norwegian territory And there the king Hamlet, the king of the Norway, whose name was also Fortinbras. The name of son is also Fortinbras, and the king is also Fortinbras, and the king was killed. That means the king of the Norwegian territory was killed by the king Hamlet himself. So there has been also, this has been also the construction besides the plot that was on the periphery of this, that Fortinbras, he's always of this nation that I will go for the revenge of his father's death, which was done by the king Hamlet, the king of the Denmark. So he was one of the antagonists, the enemies who is going for the revenge, or in his mind is the Prince Hamlet. So he is the rival of the Prince Hamlet. And also there, the Prince Hamlet, when play starts, we come across this information that before his 30 years age, where he was there in the University of Wittenberg, where he was studying. He was a very serious person, and he would also like philosophy, psychology, and he will go for deep thinking, and morality was very good, and he had a good concern for different issues, and he would never act in a hurry when the decision comes to his mind, and he would first go for deep analysis of the events, deep analysis of the things, then he will act upon. And therein, here are some friends there. One is Polonia, the friends is, one is Horatio. He was a class friend, he was a class fellow of the Prince Hamlet, class fellow of the Prince Hamlet, and he was studying there in the University of Wittenberg. And there too, there were also some more friends of Prince Hamlet who are also used as the characters by the Shakespeare there in the Hamlet. And these two very important persons who used to be later as the courtiers, fellow courtiers of the Claudius, in the court of Claudius. And these two friends who came from the Wittenberg, one is Rosencrantz and one is Guildenstern. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, they act as a people, they act as a persons who spy on Prince Hamlet according to the directions of the Claudius. And the next character we will see there in the summary of this, there in the play of this Hamlet. Not exactly we'll go with the summary, exactly more than the summary, we'll analyze different characters also, we'll see the plot construction is there, we'll see different characters, character-wise, and we'll also see the summary, and besides we'll go for the analysis of critical appreciation as well. And we had the next character, the last is the Polonius, the very important character there in the Hamlet, the play of Hamlet. Polonius is the father of two very important characters there in the play. One is the Laertius, and one is Laertius, who happened to be in France with the affairs there. Laertius has gone to France for the affairs. And another important character is Ophelia. She's the lady character, and she is the beloved of Hamlet. But she is dependent on the decision of the men. Well, she is very faithful to her father, her brother. So the character of Ophelia becomes also the reason of certain things which we'll explain in the summary, inshallah, in the next talk. Some mini characters, some characters which have their role also in Hamlet is Voltman and Cornelius. Cornelius, these are the courtiers. In the beginning, when the play starts, or when the kingdom is attacked by the Claudius, and at one place Claudius sends two courtiers to Fortinbras and to persuade him not to attack the kingdom of Denmark. And Marcellus and Bernardo, these are also the characters, and these are the officers in the Hamlet. These officers who first see the ghost we are talking about walking on the ramparts of the Elsinore where the play starts. So these were the two officers. And also the Francisco, who is a soldier and guardsman at Elsinore. This is also the Francisco, who is also the character of Marcellus and Bernardo, Voltman and Cornelius, and also the Rinaldo. Rinaldo is the character who is the Polonius' servant, the servant of the Polonius, and who is sent by the Polonius to France to spy. The character are to look after what is being done by the Laertius, the son of Polonius. And he's also the chief counselor there in the court of Claudius. Also some characters, one among the characters is Osric, who is a foolish courtier who is sent to motivate, or who is sent to give a message to Hamlet, or to go for the war of fencing, which is also the scene which is in the last act there. We'll explain inshallah. So these were the general characters there in Hamlet we were talking about. In the next talk we'll go and we'll analyze the different characters or the story of the Hamlet itself and its relevance to present day, or its relevance and the historical what's the historical criticism to this play, and also we'll look towards different authors and critical appreciation of the play later in the next talk. So see you in the next talk. Also join us on Facebook also, and you can write to us. We have also made different talks on different plays, the famous plays with students need there in their syllabus also, and we'll come with the next talk with more information on Hamlet. See you in the next talk.